people will want to know which games were the greatest and in which category. And they'll raise their eyes to System Crash for the answers.
Howdy Pixel Brains, it is I, Swinehouse. Easily the most entertaining personality on YouTube to consider himself the most innovative personality on YouTube, if not actually the most innovative. I mean, top 10 gaming videos? Hardly a novel concept on YouTube, is it? But rampant narcissism aside, I do this out of a love for gaming, as well as the sound of my own voice. But anyway, today, at the time of writing, Nintendo finally announced the true nature of the NX, or as it will henceforth be known, the Nintendo Switch. Honestly, I watched their announcement video over a pint in my local and made whoa and huh noises with a naughty grin on my face that drew the attention of the barmaids in a matter of seconds. The thing looks brilliant. A bunch of old ideas reworked with some now very grown-up and established technology thrown in to display that Nintendo has, perhaps, finally grown up. I mean, it doesn't look like a toy or anything. So, full of joie de vivre, I started to think about the many staples of gaming that we really do, totally owe to Nintendo for their invention. So you know where I'm going with this already, no point delaying it. It's System Crash's top 10 most important and greatest innovations for which we can only thank Nintendo. Press start.
Number 10.
Motion controls. Okay, there's a fairly obvious reason why I put this one first, or 10th if you like, as even though it was a, pardon the pun, game changer, adding whole new dimensions to the concepts of game design, implementation and interaction, realistically, it was a bit of an own goal. As more and more innocent first-time gamers jumped on the Wii bandwagon, the big bad AAA game industry noticed there was a market for shitty and poorly produced tat for the first time in 20 years. Those who hadn't spent the last 2 decades learning what a good game was simply saw a novelty for their next dinner party, and soon everybody and their gran owned a terrible 20 minigames in one party pack, and now they sit collecting dust, much like their Wiis.
Number 9.
Rumble. I remember the TV advert for the Rumble Pack, and in my capacity as a wise and worldly 14-year-old thought, why would I want a pad vibrating in my hand, distracting me from what's going on? In much the same way that the first moviegoers thought that audiences would flee from a shot of a train running towards them. Nope. It turns out that force feedback would remain a staple of gaming, and it even annoys us now when vibration isn't on by default, leaving the experience of gaming incomplete without its rumbly goodness.
Number 8.
The true analog stick. Alright, so maybe this one shouldn't be here. After all, Denpa Microsoft technically released the first thumbstick on the XC-1 AP Mega Drive controller, or Genesis if you're in the US, Hershey. But a cursory Google will show anyone who asks that the apparent control stick on the device was a bulky and uncomfortable prototype that fell into ruin in the face of Nintendo's paradigm-shifting N64 gamepad, complete with one of the best thumbsticks ever conceived. Its perfect application in the must-play Super Mario 64 assured that everyone adopted this new input method immediately, and the analog stick remains an absolute must for modern gaming. Just please, put it in the correct place.
Number 7.
Avatars. Okay, no one needed avatars, but we sure as hell take some pride in dressing our fictional selves up in outfits and making them strike a pose like digital Barbie dolls. Dance puppets! And sure, with Facebook and Twitter taking over the world at the time, avatars would probably have happened eventually anyway, but it was Nintendo who first presented us with our own likenesses on screen, playing tennis or bowling, or just hanging with our mates.
Number 6.
Shoulder buttons. No one ever remembers shoulder buttons on lists like these, and that's crazy because let's be honest, in the 8th generation of video game consoles, who isn't at least a little surprised when a game asks you to fire a gun or drive a car with anything other than one of the right shoulder buttons? It's become the modern version of a trigger on a joystick, and shoulder buttons surely count among the most intuitive of all input methods available to gamers today. And most of us looked at the L and R buttons on the SNES pad and wondered how they'd ever find a use for them.
Number 5.
4 face buttons. A, B, X, Y. No, in the Super NES layout of course, none of this left to right westernized rubbish Xbox. Seriously though, where would we be without these 4 buttons? Perfectly placed to welcome the 4 corners of your thumb tip, if such things exist. Triangle for menus, cross for yes, circle for no, square for whatever else you might need or to reload. Even if these ain't your buttons, the rule withstands. There's a reason it's been 20 odd years and no one has ever been able to make any alterations that were able to usurp this now iconic and incomparable arrangement of inputs.
Number 4.
Portable games. So when I was 4 years old, I was obsessed with Ninja Turtles. Not the crappy modern ones, by the way, the 80s cool guy ones. Then I received Fall of the Foot Clan with a Nintendo Game Boy and, well, here I am talking to you now. So I almost never turned the thing off, and seriously, I must owe a student loan's worth to my parents in battery costs, praise Satan for USB chargers, but I didn't have to. I could play games wherever I was with the Game Boy. 7-hour car drive to Scotland? Wario Blast. Week off sick from school? Zelda Link's Awakening. Yep, anyone who was anyone had a Game Boy when I was a kid in the 90s. And I got my old grey Warhorse out before recording this, and of course, it still works. They seriously don't make them like they used to.
Number 3.
Side-scrollers. Think about it for a second. How many games have you played that scroll from one side to another, possibly requiring some timed challenges, probably involving jumping? Sonic was great, Rayman still is, Little Big Planet reinvented the wheel, and I still play Pandemonium from time to time. Metroid, Ninja Gaiden, Castlevania, Zelda 2, Contra, Alex Kidd, Shinobi, Mega Man, Super Star Wars, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, the Subspace Emissary, whatever. Basically, what we're getting at here is no Super Mario Bros., no guarantee of any of these even existing.
Number 2.
D-pad. So, we can basically thank Nintendo for the creation of the gamepad as we know it. It's a tried and tested formula that gamers will not release, even when the big N has tried to nudge us away from it. But before there were shoulder buttons, before analog sticks, there was one simple invention that allowed us rudimentary yet deceptively intimate control over our virtual environment, and gave rise to the Konami code and 1,000 other level select cheats, #fuckonami. Ladies and gentlemen, when you absolutely need to know which direction you're going to go in, look no further than the directional pad.
Number 1.
Battery backup. So here we are, and what could be considered more important an innovation than the ability to properly control our characters? Why, the guarantee that once they got there they would remember where they were. The battery backup replaced the far less convenient password system of recommencing gameplay from where you left off, and though the batteries in question have long since degraded to the point of almost certain massive data loss, who needs them now when we can play all these old games on our phones and on younger consoles anyway? But back then, when you absolutely couldn't be dealing with having to traipse through those 7 dungeons again, the battery backup came along and invented saving. Think for a second. Would you even still be a gamer if you couldn't save your progress? Nah, me neither. Thanks, Nintendo. So there you go. 10 things we should all show our gratitude for once in a while. That basically gave us gaming as we know it. It's easy to see Nintendo is out of touch, and they've certainly seemed that way for a while now. But seriously, with the Switch, they might just have found a way to innovate again in a lasting fashion. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please give the like button a tap, and if you want to see the rest of our ever-increasing content, please nudge that subscribe button. It won't do very much, just try to entertain you from time to time. Whatever you do though, please support innovation by keeping an eye on System Crash.